Well, hello, everybody. Welcome along to Sportsbet TV. Paul Alster here with you, looking forward to the weekend's racing, where I have one particular selection for you. And I'm very interested in the Breeders' Cup meeting, where I think there is a European challenger that has been seriously underestimated and is going to be a big prize. So I will be tipping for you here a free tip at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. Now, if you're new to the service, of course, it would be great to have you stay with us and pick up all the free tips every weekend and at the festivals. And all you have to do is just press the red button just below this screen and you'll be able to follow me at your leisure. Now, last week, there were two selections on the service. And the first of them was a very, very big market mover. And this was Broomfield Berg, Nicky Henderson's horse, who I tipped each way at 13-2. He was backed all the way down to 9-4. So those of you that backed him were on at a very, very good price if you followed my advice. But I'm afraid potential triumph turned to genuine tragedy when Broomfield Berg took a very nasty fall at Ascot at the fourth flight. And tragically, it turned out to be a fatal fall. So our condolences are with Nicky Henderson and JP McManus and all the connections, the stable lads and everything. I suppose the only consolation would have been that the horse passed away instantly. It was one of those horror falls and it was just gone. It would probably never have known anything. But that was very sad. And our other selection last Saturday was Dermot Well's horse, who I thought would be around a 3-1, 137-2 chance. At Newmarket, she drifted out to 5-1. I wonder if any of you did get on each way. And she actually ran a tremendous race, finishing really strongly in the end, failing by just half a length to beat Mick Shannon's Camelot, which I suppose was written in the stars, with Mick announcing that he was going to bow out this coming weekend. And we wish him a great retirement. He's been a wonderful trainer, a great ambassador for racing, and before that, of course, for football. So we found one too good last week, but certainly both of them in the different ways. The market move for Broomfield Berg and the big run of Keep in Touch showed that we had our finger pretty much on the pulse. Now, for the last few weekends, I've been mentioning my new service, which is the premium service Out in Front, which is available on the Patreon of the service. And it's got off to a fairly quiet start, it has to be said, which often happens when you're tipping at decent prices. But the last few weeks, the winners have started to come on the big placed horses as well. And I'm delighted to say that I was able to tip 16-1 winner Riders on the Storm, Gold Cup Bailey at 7-1, Mo Farser recommended at 5-1 was a big gamble. And there were also places for the clients of Out in Front at 25-1, 20-1, 18, 16-1, 11-1, 13-2, and 6-1. So certainly the service has really been getting into gear over the last few weeks. And you are, of course, invited to take a look and join us. There will be there are a variety of membership options, and they include just the Saturdays and festivals, or you can be involved getting all the selections for Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, as well as the festival meetings. And here's just a little bit more about what's on offer. Hello, I'm Paul Alster. Since July 2020, my followers have enjoyed some really great success here with my regular Saturday and festival tips here at Sportsbet TV. Well, now I'm offering an enhanced tipping service called Out in Front, aiming for plenty of big odds selections on far more racing days. So to continue receiving my profitable and enjoyable each way and often long odds racing selections, sign up now on Patreon for my low-cost, brand new live tipping service where you can interact with me and ask questions and comment in real time. So signing up to Out in Front only takes 2 minutes. First, choose a membership, then sign up, add a payment method, and then you'll get all the benefits of being an Out in Front member. I can't wait to see you, so sign up to the new Out in Front real-time tipping service with me, Paul Alster. Well, this weekend, actually, at Out in Front, I'll be giving selections both for Friday's racing, Saturday and Sunday. So things really getting into gear with the winter season. And also another free service that you may be interested in if you have a Twitter account. I'm starting to just give my thoughts here and there on the racing throughout the week on Twitter. And we have a new Twitter handle. So do feel free to follow me on Twitter now at Paul_out in front. And I'll be making one or two observations which might well prove to pay their way as well, absolutely free of charge, over at Twitter as well. So now on to my free tip for you for Saturday. And although there's some really very good racing in Britain, including the closing of the flat season on turf at Doncaster with the November handicap and some very good action elsewhere over the sticks, it is, of course, Breeders' Cup weekend. And really, you can forget your Dubai World Cups and all the rest of it. Outside of the great European races like the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe and the King George meeting and the Champions Day in Britain and Ireland, the Breeders' Cup really is the outstanding international meeting in many respects, certainly in this hemisphere. And they're racing at Keeneland this year. And there are quite a few European runners that go there with a big chance, and quite a few of them are set to go in the 5:50. That's the 5:50 British time on Saturday afternoon at Keeneland in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, which is over 9.5 furlongs. Now, the going is forecast good, and there are 12 runners. And the Europeans have won this 4 of the last 6 years, so they certainly have a good record in the race. And the one that is favourite here is the Gosden's filly, Nashwa, who's had a great season, and Holly Doyle is on board. This filly was an excellent second in the Prix de l'Opera at the big longshot meeting last time out. She also won the Nassau Stakes earlier on in the season, Group 1, and she's very, very classy. She's been on the go through most of the season, and she's forecast the 6-4 favourite, which does look a little bit thin for a filly that has had quite a few races at the top level this season. And that's a comment that applies to 1 or 2 of the European runners here. Now, Aidan O'Brien runs the Irish Oaks runner-up and the subsequent listed winner, Toy. And he also runs Tuesday, who looks very much the first string for Aidan, who won the Oaks at Epsom and then was only beaten just the 1 length by the superb Alpinista in the Yorkshire Oaks over 1.5 miles. She went on to be 6th last time out in the Prix de l'Opera. I'm just not convinced that Tuesday will be suited by the further slight drop back in trips, but it wouldn't surprise me to see her go well. Joseph O'Brien runs an absolutely lovely filly called Above the Curve, who is massive. She is huge. She won over 1.25 miles a French Group 1 in May, and she also won a Group 2 over 1.25 miles in Ireland in September. She's another of the fillies to have run in the Prix de l'Opera at Longchamp last month, and she was a very, very good third. I would have thought Longchamp would have suited her better than possibly Keeneland. So that's one reason why I think she is opposable. And then as far as the local defence of the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, the man to watch here is Chad Brown. Now, Chad Brown, a top US trainer, has won this race for 4 of the last 10 years, and he's got 3 runners, including the Grade 1 course winner, which is called In Italian, and she has won over 1 mile on firm ground, so she's having to go a bit further here. The Grade 1 Woodbine winner, Rougier, who runs in the colours of Michael Tabor and has done the distance, and also Virginia Joy, who won over 1 mile and 3 furlongs in a Grade 2 at Saratoga last time out, is going up in class and back in distance. So quite an interesting trio there for Chad Brown. But this is a race in which I think there's a horse who has been targeted at this race since running at the meeting last year. And that horse, although on the figure she has plenty to find, is the one that I'm suggesting you have a really good look at big odds. And her name is Mise en Scène. She's trained by James Ferguson and is the mount of Kieran Fallon. Now, this Qatar-owned filly was a very good 2-year-old last year. She won a Group 3 at Goodwood, a really nice race over 7 furlongs, and then she stayed on well after meeting trouble in running to be just a 3-length fourth to Inspiral in the Group 1 Bet365 Fillies Mile last October, and she was really flying there at the finish behind a high-class filly in Inspiral. Now, on the back of that, she went on to run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, and she got a bad draw there, drawn out in 13, and they had to make a lot of use of her in the first furlong and a half to get her into a prominent position at the first bend. And I think that early effort to get her prominent, and she was still right there going down to the final furlong, I think it just took its toll on her, as probably did racing on all the way through the season into November. She faded in the end, but she wasn't beaten far, just over 4 lengths in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And I feel that James Ferguson, who's proving himself to be a very, very talented trainer, has probably understood that the filly had travelled over well, handled the hurly-burly of the Breeders' Cup atmosphere very well, and had she been better drawn, and maybe if she'd been trained specifically for that meeting, she might have gone a lot closer. Now, she's only had the 3 runs this year. They reintroduced her in the Irish Guineas, where she looked as if she probably needed it and faded. Then she ran in the Group 3 Atalanta Stakes in August at Sandown, which was won by Potapova. And she was out at the back of the field, not really going anywhere and looking as if, who knows, maybe she hadn't even trained on, when all of a sudden she really took off when she hit the rising ground and finished very, very strongly, finishing through into 6th place and flying up the hill in the closing stages. So that was enough to suggest the ability is still definitely there. And then, and I think with this race in mind, they stepped her up from 1 mile to 1.25 miles for the first time at Yarmouth, where there was a very good listed race. And she, having been slightly outpaced 2 furlongs out, really got back into gear inside the final furlong. And she was battling back all the way to the line, in the end failing by just a nose to grab the spoil. She stayed on very strongly. Now, to me, that suggested that she is coming to her peak. They now know she'll stay this Breeders' Cup distance. I think she's been trained for the race. And you have to bear in mind as well that James Ferguson sent a horse all the way down to Australia earlier this week, went off favourite for the Melbourne Cup and ran an absolute blinder, Deauville Legend, eventually finishing 4th. So you can certainly send them long distances and have them run very well. Now, I'm happy to say that this year, Mise en Scène is drawn in stall 6, so she's got a lovely centre field berth. I think she looks value. She's relatively fresh. Note that she also has cheek pieces on for the first time. I think that's just to keep her sharp and get her into a good position early on. And at the time of this recording on Thursday lunchtime, she's offered at 33 to 1 each way with most firms. Now, if you shop around and also look on the exchanges, you may well find much bigger odds, especially closer to the race time itself. But I do feel that Mise en Scène is set to run a big race. It's also worth saying as well that I think there'll be some British bookmakers that will be offering at least 4 places, if not more, to try and get your business in what is likely to be a very lively betting evening. So my choice at really big odds, I'm certainly not shirking the issue, is 33 to 1 shot Mise en Scène at Keeneland, 5:50 British time, Saturday evening in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mares Turf. Let's hope she gives us a run for our money and a bit of a shout. I'll be back same time next week and look forward to your company then. Bye-bye for now.